Going back to the fossil fuel divestment campaign, I stayed involved for years as we built up the divestment movement on campus, as well as trying to engage with an incredibly non-transparent administration, which was strongly against divestment. There were several things that helped me to stay engaged in this movement. One is that 350 has an excellent emphasis on campaigners supporting and training each other and sharing resources on campaign messaging and strategy. Another thing was that over time, as the group developed, I built up strong working relationships and friendships with the other coordinators. As a group, we checked in with each other regularly and also made time specifically for social activities so that we could get to know each other better. Finally, though not everything was perfect, on the whole, I felt welcome and included as a disabled person. I did have to educate, at times more often than I would have liked, but over time, those organizing around me became better and better allies to me. I was able to focus on the more writing and research-based aspects, which were my strengths. Group members started reminding each other to add image descriptions on social media and to describe important visuals when doing presentations. And they'd make sure I'd have a guide or other pointers I might need to join in everything I wanted to, from postering to club stalls to direct actions. By the way, after almost 5 years, we finally won, and the University of Auckland agreed to divest from fossil fuels. Over time, I started working with 350 Aotearoa to build the capacity of other campaigners to campaign in ways more accessible and inclusive to disabled people generally, and not just me. I started getting more involved in the wider disability community a couple years before that, but I still had so much to learn. At that time in 2018, there were not really a lot of campaigning organizations outside of the disability movement that I was aware of, which had accessibility and inclusion guides. Through the efforts of other disabled campaigners along with this work, Aotearoa's wider climate campaigning movement is getting to be more accessible to and inclusive of disabled people, but there's still a ways to go. Another way I have been involved is I convene a disability network within a political party in Aotearoa, and there we have actually been able to build up good relationships with members of parliament, and we've been able to guide them a little bit and hold them to account from the inside on ensuring disability is embedded across their portfolios, including climate change. It's definitely not perfect or a panacea, but it has been another useful channel. One last thing I want to say about meaningful participation in the climate movement is that there are a huge variety of ways to get involved, and that whichever way works for you to show up, that is valuable. Maybe that's by tweeting from bed, or by making art, or blogging to raise awareness, or by doing research, or whatever. Maybe it's part of a disability organization. Maybe it's part of a climate organization. Maybe it starts off being by yourself. It all counts. A collective of disabled contributors wrote a great list, which was updated around the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, called 26 Ways to Be in the Struggle Beyond the Streets. It's not specific to climate justice, but I highly recommend checking it out if you're thinking about that taking action in the streets is not a way that you can or feel safe to participate.